Jasneet, it's nice to see you again. Welcome.
Hello. Hi to everyone watching.
Yeah, everyone, you're going to have some people watching live, some people watching this later, recorded. My name is Dr. Rock. This is Dr. Jasneet. We are from Mora Medical. Mora Medical, we are a lifestyle medicine medical group. We help people make lifestyle changes, use that as a medication to lose weight, treat disease, reverse disease. Yeah, and this is our weekly live stream. It's nice to have all of you here. Dr. Jasneet, how are you doing today?
I'm
No
doing
music. No music.
no music. I'm doing great and super happy to be here.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, the music wasn't a bad touch. For those who didn't see last week, Dr. Jasneet had some nice slow jazz playing in the background. We figured out the culprit. Who is
Yeah.
the culprit? It was Slack.
It was Slack.
Slack. Slack puts you on hold and it plays smooth jazz. So, welcome. Well, we are almost into spring. Yeah. How's the winter been treating you, Dr. Jasny?
I look forward to a little more to getting out a little bit more as the weather softens up. Although it doesn't, there's no sign of that here in California right now. But just starting to think about little weekend trips with the kids and travel. And so that's what's on my mind is travel in the spring and in the summer.
Hi, and we have wonderful. That sounds beautiful. And we have Dr. Lori here. Dr. Lori, sorry if you were waiting.
I was like,
It was in
hello.
the left-hand side, and I didn't realize I have to scroll down to see additional guests waiting. So,
Gotcha. No
but I got
problem.
you on now. We were just remarking. Dr. Jesney was just remarking about how the weather is changing, and it's nice to think about getting outside more. And
Yes.
yeah, how are you
My
doing, Dr. Lori?
good. My head's really big on here. I'm trying to so I apologize for anyone who sees this large head. But yeah, it's all good. It's cloudy here, but it's Southern California. I can't complain. Oh.
No, that's bigger. Right.
Let's not do that.
Trying to see if I could adjust that. Yeah, no, it's cloudy, it's raining. We're getting another atmospheric river coming here in
Are
Northern
we?
California.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yes, yes. And one thing I want to talk about today with both of you, and Lori, Dr. Lori, we welcomed everyone, reminded them who we are, Mora Medical,
Okay.
and um, yeah, that we're here to provide this level of care that many people need and many people want. And you can go to mora.com, Mora.com. And today I thought we'd talk a little bit about eating a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet versus a plant-based diet when you're traveling, and kind of strategies around that. And also like, the fun around that. That's something I never expected before I started eating this way, how I could look forward to the plant-based options and cuisine in different places. I'm
Yes,
very excited about
absolutely. Just a quick question. Oh yeah, here we are. So I just want to it doesn't show us that we're live on our Facebook page. So I just wanted to
that. Oh,
verify that we're live. It looks like someone's getting us from YouTube, so we're at least live on YouTube. So, but I don't see that we're live on
that's
Facebook.
right. That I don't
I
know.
will contact the tech team. You guys keep going. I will
We'll
be
keep
looking
going. Very
at
good.
okay.
Dr. Chesney, you wanna share kind of I start with strategies about eating more of a plant-based diet when you travel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it really starts with preparing even ahead of the travel. So, thinking about the airplane, just or the car ride, just start there. And one of the strategies I use is carrying my own snacks. So things that are easy, not quickly perishable, will last the length of the flight or even when I arrive at my destination. So those might be things like little energy bars I make at home, or nuts and seeds, air fry some veggie chips. Having your
Mm.
own snacks is really helpful. So that's my first thought is what am I going to do in the airplane and when I land and when I'm hungry.
Hmm. Oh, I like that. Well, that's just having more control over kind of what you eat. So, do you bring, in addition to snacks for like the road trip or the plane, do you bring food for the trip, like that you're gonna prepare there, or what's your kind of strategy around that?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on the nature of the trip. I try not to rely on what might be served in the airplane. And so sometimes I'll carry food depending on how long the flight is. I also try to choose an accommodation that might have like a little mini fridge or a kitchenette that I have two little kids. And so if,
Hmm.
when we land, I put in a little bit of time to go to the closest grocery store and line up, or we talk a lot at Mora about what your creating an environment that fosters eating healthy. So even on a trip, I like to line up the room with snacks that everyone can easily
Hmm.
grab. And sometimes when you first land, it feels like, okay, this is a little bit of time wasted. Now we're going to Costco or whatever. But ultimately, I think it ends up saving time and also saving calories. So
Well, that's right. Yeah. It's it's interesting. I'm hearing that and I'm agreeing with all that. And I know I just went on a trip this past weekend with my two boys, and my wife took them to Target the night before and said, You're going on a trip with daddy. You can pick whatever you want for the plane. One snack. And so my son picked Pringles and my other son picked these fig bars. Like both of those things we don't buy for a variety of reasons, but then they got to have those things. And we show up on the plane. I'm like, what'd you bring in their backpack? I'm like, oh.
you bring up a good point. You bring up a good point, though, there, because we often think of travel as a reward or kind of a free for all. So, I'm on vacation, I get to treat myself. But I love how you talk about, well, what does it mean? What do you consider a treat to yourself? And what does that look like? And so part of that is the mindset of, are we just eating at any time of the day and eating whatever we want? Or are we going to are we going to maintain some sort of routine while we're traveling? And that's another important thing to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I saw that, and I said, and Lori and I have talked about this on the live stream before. Like, I'm a big believer. I don't restrict everything 100%. Like they can, uh, on a trip, get a thing of we had some Pringles on the way there. We said Pringles and planes. We were standing and watching the planes and eating Pringles. And then, but then, Pringles are not a regular occurrence in my house outside of that. So I think of the alternative is like they'll get to college and never have had any of these things. And then they'll be like, oh, I can buy, I'm speaking a little bit of myself, like, oh, I can buy all these things from the vending machine. Yeah. Let's see. Stuart says for sure pre-trip planning is so important. Great suggestion. For long trips, my carry-on is full of nuts, bars, protein powder. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I hear that. Um, Dr. Lori, any thoughts on traveling and how you approach eating plant-based when you're not at home?
Yes. So we're working on getting on Facebook. So apologize there. It's changed as the kids get older and now they're out of the house. So now it's just myself and my husband when we travel. It's more difficult actually making sure my dog has the right food and drink than us at this point. But when you're traveling, it really depends on where you're going, really. Because like when I go to Boston to see my daughter, it's like, this is easy. You go to the airports in between here and there, typically have something, but you can always bring something with you to snack on longer trips because those are 6 hour total flying time typically. The other piece when we're driving, because I just drove up to Seattle area, so that was an 1,100-mile trip by myself and the dog. And to see family. And the thing there that was interesting was you're driving through small little towns. There's not going to be available. You're driving for 2.5 days by myself. I can't necessarily walk into a place either because I have an animal that I don't want to leave in a car alone. So there are definitely things like I've done, for example, Taco Bell. I'll drive in and say, I want a black bean and rice burrito. That's it. And leave it at that. If I can make it, it's not too hot outside, and I can leave her out for maybe 15 minutes, run into a grocery store and grab something. I've certainly been known to do that. I did bring a cooler and bring some foods. And that's really what I'd have to do in certain circumstances when I'm by myself traveling in, 1,000 miles. And I've been to Africa and eaten a whole food plant-based diet in rural Africa where there's no electricity, no running water. It's actually kind of much easier there because you're eating fresh foods daily. It's the foods that they're growing. They don't have the means to grow an animal and kill it once. And so, yeah, it really is a matter of mindset. You're either going to want to do it or not. So it's really up to you.
That's a really interesting point. And Jasneet, Dr. Jasneet, you kind of mentioned this too, is that some people everyone looks as trips as an opportunity to take care of yourself, reward yourself, but that idea of what it means to reward yourself, or how you treat yourself, that I know for me has changed dramatically. Like in the past, I would have agreed with my children and said, yes, potato chips are the way I reward myself. Now, if we go somewhere and I find that there's this amazing like acai bowl that they make in Portland that everyone goes to, I'm like, I want to go there. Let's get it. And that shift to wanting that and feeling like that, that isn't an indulgence for me, to be able to get nourishing food that feels good and also tastes good, is part of that mindset, but it's also part of your preferences. Like my tastes have changed, my conception of what I enjoy, my preferences have changed. Yeah.
Yeah, that comes back to what you said about making it fun. So, not thinking of it as a chore, but we had a trip to New York where we planned to do a picnic in Central Park and, make that part of the fun of the trip. So we're having a basket and, the fresh foods and things like that. So it's not like, oh, we're having to go to the store just to stock our hotel room. This is now for the picnic. Or just even searching ahead of time for a fun vegan restaurant in this new city that you're going to and, making that a nice dinner out. So I think if you flip it to being something fun, that really changes the whole picture.
That's it. That's right. Yeah. Any thoughts on that, Dr. Lori?
Yeah, absolutely. The fun, I love going exploring for new restaurants. One, I want to support those who also are, working hard to create healthy meals for people. But it's a great conversation piece. I love talking to the chefs. I went to Palm Springs, California, and I went to a vegan restaurant in this little Palm Desert town, and come to find out it was a chef that had actually helped start Native Foods, which is a chain of very, I would say, more comfort foods, not necessarily your healthiest, but a chain of vegan restaurants in at least Colorado and some other places too. So that was fun to meet someone.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned grocery store as well. And I was thinking, as my tastes and preferences have changed, like when there isn't an option, I do that now. I find myself getting like baked tostadas, salsa, hummus, like things that I think, and Dr. Jasneet said it, like if you have a place that has a mini fridge, you're sort of like, oh, I can get some berries and fruit and then just keeping, especially if I'm traveling alone, even when I'm traveling with my kids, like just keeping those healthy snacks around. Because not just because it saves money and it's better for us, but we all enjoy those things. Like when we don't have those things, we end up eating things that we used to enjoy and actually don't make us feel nearly as good.
And I always remind people you don't have to eat too. Sometimes people feel, like, oh, I need a snack because I'm traveling. And actually, you don't always have to eat something if there's not something available, unless you're just starving. But I think you'll be okay till the next meal, unless there's, medications that are lowering your blood sugars. And that's okay too. But yeah, protein bars, Stuart here was mentioning in the comments, there are some prepackaged, pretty good options. Like I think it's what is that one bar? It's in Starbucks. It's not the Kind bar, but it's like That's It. I think it's called That's It. It's like
Oh
literally
yeah,
2 or
just
3.
fruit.
Yeah, it's just fruit. Those are good ones. And then some of the other Laura bars have some decent
Yeah,
ones as well. They might be a little bit higher calorie content, just so be wary of that. You won't feel as full. But yeah, there's lots of ways to bring food. Dried fruit, trail mix, lots of things.
that's right. You can even I bring the things I need for oatmeal, like just the rolled oats and some nuts and dried fruit, and you can at the store wherever you are buy some plant milk.
Yep.
That's the type of thing you can make overnight oats in your hotel
Totally.
room very easily. Yeah. Yeah. This past weekend I traveled and I stayed with some friends, and it's a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends from medical school. They do not eat. I mean, they eat plants, but they're not like a plant-based, plant-forward family necessarily. But he knows I am now, and I was just so touched. Like the first night I came, they had made tofu tacos, and then the next morning, they made this forks over knife like oatmeal recipe, like tropical oatmeal with mango, and I was just anyway that because when we lived together in medical school like that, we did not eat that way. So it was just a reminder that people also they sometimes when you change. When I first made these changes, it was like they had a hard, certain people had a hard time. Like the traditions change. We used to always go to steakhouses together, and now it's people make room for you is what it felt so spacious. It felt so I was so grateful. Really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is really nice. I think another point I'll say is that it's important to remember our bodies thrive on routine, and when we go on vacation, sometimes that goes out the window. So it's like we're eating at all times of day, late at night, in between meals, and then you don't feel so good and you don't realize why. So even if you're not able to control exactly what you're eating as much as you want to, the time is something that you can be more mindful of. Am I like Lori said, you don't always have to eat. So am I just unnecessarily putting this, cupcake in my mouth because it's in front of me here,
Yeah.
and being more intentional that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like just recently traveled to the East Coast for just 4 days. But so their 6 o'clock was my 3 a.m. I was not hungry. So I was eating a little bit later to accommodate, which was offset by most people there were from the East Coast. So, but that's okay too. Like, I think that's a really good point, Jesse, because you're going to be traveling home in a few days and then you're going to be really messed up if you start doing that. But the eating time is a good point for sure.
That's right. Either of you have strategies like if you're traveling with someone who isn't plant-based and like
Yeah. I say, listen, you can eat anywhere. I can only eat some places. These are the options I have for you. That's what I tend to take that very, come on, guys.
That's right.
You can't be afraid to be vocal about your choices and needs. And most people, especially if you make it fun and enjoyable and somewhere that's unique and different, they go for it. And many times they'll have never tried a vegan restaurant. It's like, great, let's expand your palate a little.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I would add the flip side to that is if you end up at that, the restaurant that the other person chooses, don't be afraid to build your own plate. So like look at the appetizer section or the sides. And you don't have to be confined to what the restaurant is suggesting your plate be. So, and even things off the menu might be available. So build your own plate and speak up for yourself.
Absolutely. I've become, I say MacGyver the menu. is what I say, because you're like, oh, they have peas in that dish and they have beans in that dish. Like, can they put that instead of chicken in that? And yeah, I know. That's right. Okay. What are some top plant-based destinations you've been to, like where you were just sort of blown away when you went there? And like
Nashville, Tennessee.
Really?
Yep, lots of vegan restaurants. And then I would say next in line would be like Portland, Seattle area. There's tons
So
here.
you put
Southern.
Nashville above Portland was my
Oh yeah.
number one, but I
Mm-mm.
haven't been to
Nashville, so much better.
Oh wow,
And
so much better than Portland.
oh
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I went to college in Portland too. So and then we went back. Well, on our way back home, when we drove home a month ago. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And Southern Orange County. Orange County has a ton, which
Yeah.
speaks. It's California,
Southern
so
California is a really good.
it's like vegan Mecca here. But
Yeah.
outside of that, Nashville was a really big surprise, and DC actually has a lot of choices as well. Yeah. So surprise, surprise, Denver doesn't have a lot.
Yeah, I
They have a
noticed
few,
that. Yeah.
but definitely Nashville. You will not be sorry if you go to Nashville. You'll have plenty to eat.
Did you know that, Jasmine? That Nashville was a plant-based vegan
I
mecca?
not, and I haven't been there, but I have a cousin there, and it's on the list. So I'm happy to hear that.
Okay.
I was
Just went up
thinking,
on my list. It's
yeah,
it's like moved up on my list now.
I love
funny.
Nashville. The music, the food. Oh my goodness, it's a great city.
yeah. I was thinking as you were. I mean, I don't know if I've been to as many U.S. cities. California obviously is great. I'll say a place that I had a little bit of a tougher time, and that was when I went to Texas for the first time. And it just not only finding plant-based food, but the portion sizes were a lot bigger than what I'm used to seeing, and so it was a little bit of a cultural shift.
Where in Texas were you?
We went to Austin.
Mm.
First time in Texas, so
Oh wow,
yeah.
Yeah, no, California is my 10th state that I've lived in, and being military and driving coast to coast. I mean, yeah, but Texas, it's funny. You can find some great, even little cities will have some options available for you. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but there is a plant-based mayor of this little random small Texas town in East Texas. And they have like a festival every year. He had cured his prostate cancer going vegan. I mean, amazing. So I drove through there one time on a way, multiple drives. So you never know what you're going to find randomly throughout the state of the Lone Star State. So yeah, it is a culture shock there.
I was just in Dallas, and again, I went out to dinner with my friends one night, and the restaurant I think was intentionally chosen because they had amazing plant-based options, like really incredible. Like it was sort of a Mediterranean restaurant, and it wasn't. Now here's the other thing: it wasn't oil-free. They had this chickpea salad, which was delicious, but I could tell was sort of drizzled olive oil, on top, and I didn't specify that. Sometimes I will, if I'm eating out with my family, I will ask for no oil but this was like I was going out. It was my friend's birthday, and I sort of felt like in that moment, I was like, well, we're already at a restaurant where I'm going to eat like a lot of delicious plant-based food. Like I can sort of just be okay. Now, everyone's situation is different. You may be in a situation where you definitely want to minimize oil at all times, and then, that'll play into your decision if you're gonna. I know people who travel. I've met people who travel who just bring all their food, and they bring like dried soups and stews. And for me, once in a while when we travel, if there's a plant-based option that's not like the perfect in terms of the healthiest, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it really depends on it because I know, like in some Indian restaurants, I love Indian food. There is a lot of oil, and then I just don't feel well. So I have to be really careful about if there's too much. The Mexican restaurants and Indian restaurants, I found that are the heaviest in the oil department. The Ethiopian, so yummy,
So good.
if you can find a good one.
Yeah.
In the places, I haven't found one here yet, but that's some of my favorite food.
Yes, we have good Ethiopia in Northern California.
We do.
Yeah,
I've heard.
good. Yes, come
Sitting down here.
Yeah, that's right. Next time you're here, we'll all go get Ethiopian food.
Sweet.
Okay. Dr. Lori, you want to say anything to our listeners about Mora, about welcoming them? Yeah.
Yes. First of all, thanks everyone for joining. Yeah. Julie says Salt Lake City. Yes, Salt Lake City actually does also have some really good vegan restaurants, by the way. That's a really good point, in the middle of Utah. And just one other point that Stuart mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned the Happy Cow app. So definitely download the Happy Cow app. That's a great starting point, at least knowing, where there's some, and people go on there and rate, yeah, this food was good or not or whatever. But yes, Mora is, we're always looking to add more patients. So feel free to check us out at mora.com. Some amazing doctors. We're expanding our coverage. So Texas, Florida, California, Colorado, Ohio, New York. Soon to be working towards some others. I'm not going to say quite yet because we don't have those licenses. We're working on some. So really, guys, feel free to refer patients. Share this link. If you find that, or share Mora.com, with someone who's struggling with diabetes, they're struggling with being overweight, they're looking for answers, and they're just really coming up against closed doors and not being able to find any success, send them our way. We really work hard, and we really love those motivated patients who are willing to work with us. So yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I just want to point out that Race Lever, when I said MacGyver, he came up with a Bug-Iver, or I was thinking Veg-Guyver, maybe.
Dr. MacGyver? I don't know.
Yeah, Dr. Veg-Guyver would be a show I'd watch. Make it happen, bro. Solving medical emergencies with random vegan odds and ends items is a winner. I would watch that show too. If anyone in the television industry is watching, please run with that idea. There's no copyright. No.
That'd be hilarious.
Right.
They're like solving all problems with fruits and vegetables.
That's right. Dr. Jazz, needs any closing thoughts? Anything you'd like to say to everyone?
Yeah, I'll close with something I tell my patients, which is, even though travel can inevitably throw you off track a little bit, I think the most important thing is when you're back in your routine, that you return to your regular habits as quickly as possible. So not sliding into day 2, 3 weeks go by, holidays, because that's when you start to get into a little bit of trouble. It's tougher to bring yourself back. So, Monday morning, you're back and you're back on track. So I think that's important.
Oh, that's great advice. Yeah, for sure. I've been noticing that the last couple of days. I sort of need to, I didn't do my Sunday meal prep, so it's kind of throwing things off, but I'm getting back there. Cool. All right. Well, thank you both. Thank you all of you for listening. Thank our very active chat group today at YouTube. Yeah, check us out, Mora.com, Mora.com. And we'll see you back here next week.
Yes.
Thank you.
See you.
Have a great day, guys.